A shocking shopping mall assault caught on camera in Brampton.
Tonight, a female shopper punched multiple times by an unknown man. Good evening. Peel police are investigating, looking for the suspect in this attack.
We do want to warn you, the footage is graphic, unsettling to say the least. It left the victim injured and fellow shoppers on edge. CTV's John Musselman joins us live with tonight's top story. John.
Well, Nathan, you're right. It is a very vicious assault, and Peel Regional Police are appealing for the public's help and trying to identify this suspect. The security video shows two women entering a clothing store inside a Brampton mall. Seconds later, a man walks towards one of the women. He swats something out of her hand, possibly a cell phone. She then slaps the man. That's when the man unleashes multiple punches in a vicious assault against her.
This is an extremely disturbing incident that happened in a public area in Brampton. And I want to reassure the community that, we're going to be doing everything we can to identify, locate, and arrest the suspect.
Police say the woman did not know the man. He leaves the store with three other men who were watching. It happened on October 23rd inside this clothing store on the second floor of the Bramalea City Centre Mall. Staff and management at the store declined to comment on the incident. Meanwhile, shoppers at the mall say the violent attack is unsettling.
I think you can just be shopping in a store, especially this time of year, buying so much stuff and just get attacked out of nowhere, and then to have him just leave the store.
That's quite disgusting, to be honest. Yeah, I can't believe that.
Peel Regional Police say the victim suffered minor injuries. Investigators are trying to identify the attacker, and they're appealing to the public for help. They released these images of the clothing he was wearing, including a red hooded sweatshirt with the words Hellstar Records written on the front. He was also wearing black sweatpants and black shoes.
The audacity, for lack of a better word, we really want the public's assistance to help us quickly identify who this person is.
Police say the woman was originally approached by the man who accused her of recording him with her cell phone. When she tried to walk away, he followed her into the clothing store. Last month at this same mall, there was a brazen robbery at a jewelry store. The video posted to Instagram shows the suspect smashing display cases with hammers while wearing masks and hoodies. Security officers tackled one suspect to the ground. Two additional suspects can be seen fleeing the scene. At the time, a mall spokesman wrote, quote, "Our security team's quick response ensured that nobody was injured, while Peel Regional Police arrived on site and made an arrest." And police tell us they're still looking for two men in relation to that smash and grab robbery. As for the assault, they're asking anyone with information to contact Peel Regional Police or Crime Stoppers. Reporting live in Brampton, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Also tonight, it'll be a transit game changer if it ever opens. Frustration is mounting as Metrolink says the completion date for the Eglinton Crosstown LRT won't be revealed until a few months before it's ready.
But first, it could be another very big blow to your pocketbook if you're caught parking illegally in Toronto.
As of today, fines have more than doubled for tickets in some areas. CTV's Beth McDonnell joined us live with more on how much you could be forced to pay and where, Beth.
Michelle, I'm in the Distillery District tonight. This is one of many areas in the city with private property and private parking lots starting today. For those who park illegally or fail to buy a ticket and get caught, the penalty is going up from $30 to $75.
Right now, we've been called to a private property residence upon security's request to ticket a vehicle that is parked without consent on private property.
This is how an illegally parked vehicle gets a ticket on private property in Toronto. To start, someone with authority calls or submits an online request inviting a parking enforcement officer like Aaron Urquhart to show up. So what are you looking for?
So first and foremost, I have to look for the proper signage for private property. We have two signs right here that are saying private property, no parking anytime.
Once Urquhart determines it's an unsanctioned spot, the ticket is drawn up, printed, and placed on the dashboard. What's new? The penalty has a new price. A driver that did this yesterday was fined $30, and today?
$75.
As of December 1st, all motorists who fail to follow signage about illegal parking or don't pay for paid parking on all private lots, residential or commercial, risk receiving the new $75 fine. It also applies to all city-owned parking property, including at the Distillery District, Exhibition Place, TTC lots, and with the Toronto Parking Authority. It doesn't apply to street parking. It's still $30 if you don't pay there, while at Green P lots, the fine for not paying is already $75.
On the good side of the ledger, this will increase the motivation for, especially as we're experiencing a lot of construction in housing as well as transit. This will encourage people to use the space to its best and highest use. From a revenue standpoint, this absolutely will increase the revenue that comes to the city.
While drivers who pay for parking won't be affected, some admit it can be hard to find a spot.
It's just getting ridiculous. You want us to pay for parking, make sure there's parking available.
Parking in the city has gone up quite substantively, so it's it can get painful, but yeah, I mean, you have to pay your parking. That's I guess that's the law, right?
Urquhart says for years, officers have been responding nonstop to illegally parked vehicles on private property. She says it not only displaces people who are allowed to be there, it can be a safety issue, potentially blocking emergency responders. In this case, the vehicle was parked in a laneway.
They take a risk whether, they don't want to pay for parking, so they'll roll the dice and they'll park illegally on private property. And it was only a $30 ticket before, but now I'm hoping to see change.
$75 is more than double the old rate. Time will tell if the steeper price makes more drivers comply across Toronto. City Council approved the increase in October. To give you a sense of the money coming in, the city says the fines amounted to around $27 million over 2 years in 2021 and 2022. So these new penalties could bring in some serious cash. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. Coming up, a kangaroo not in a zoo on the loose in Oshawa. The search for the bouncing marsupial and the warning about its penchant for kicking. The wild hunt in moments.
But first, let's take a live look outside. It was a soggy start to December, a little rain and some snow in some areas. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions in Oakville. Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan, what a messy start to the month. We knew it was going to be unsettled. We expected mostly rain around the GTA, but you're right, many areas did end up getting wet snow, not accumulating a whole lot other than on grassy surfaces. But here's a look at what the current satellite and radar looks like. We're seeing this precipitation taper off from west to east. It is still falling, though, in many parts of the GTA, and we're going to get another round of wet weather before the night is finished, overnight tonight. Winds are coming from a different direction. They're coming out of the northeast today, and they've eased considerably compared to the last couple of days. Temperature-wise, we've been hovering right around freezing, and that's why some areas have been seeing some wet snow as opposed to rain. And here's a look at what you can expect tonight. Temperature's actually going to rise, so anybody who's seeing wet snow this evening will see some rain through the overnight hours. It's a good night to stay in and stay cozy. Maybe head to your local Swiss Chalet. That's where we are tonight, building a toy mountain. And we're celebrating in the Oakville area, Burl Oak. We've got lots of fun coming up and a rather special donation from Swiss Chalet. For now, though, Nathan, I'll send it back inside to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. As far as fugitives go, this was likely a first for Durham police.
That's for sure. A kangaroo. Yep, you heard that right. A kangaroo was spotted on a roadway during the morning commute, much to the surprise, of course, of motorists. And it led to a wild pursuit today. Our Mike Walker joined us live from Oshawa with the tale that continues tonight. Have you spotted it?
Well, Michelle, Nathan, the kangaroo is still on the loose. We saw it a short time ago hopping across a farmer's field. It was destined for Quebec and was spending the night at the Oshawa Zoo when it somehow escaped.
He's hurt. It was a sight that had people doing a double take. A kangaroo on the loose in North Oshawa.
He's fast.
I've been working at the zoo for quite a long time. I started there when I was 13 and I'm now 42, so we're going on about 30 years. And I have not experienced anything like this.
The park supervisor at the Oshawa Zoo says the kangaroo was destined for a zoo in Quebec. It was supposed to spend the night at the Oshawa Zoo when it somehow escaped its handlers.
As the animal handlers who were transporting this thing, as they were trying to unload it into our warm room last night where the kangaroo would be staying, it jumped over their head out of the trailer, and it has now escaped, and we are in the process of tracking it down.
Police received multiple reports about the kangaroo shortly after 7:30 this morning. A small team of volunteers began scouring the area, including Dave Hutnick, who located the kangaroo this afternoon using thermal technology on his drone. It hunkered down at a farm about 2 kilometers away from the zoo.
And realized it was the kangaroo when it began to hop across the field. So we were actually able to track it into a brushy area where she kind of hunkered down.
His security company has assisted with finding missing animals and people in the past, but this is a first.
This is a brand new experience. It's pretty interesting.
Now the challenge is trying to retrieve the animal.
Now, the Ministry of Natural Resources has also been notified to try and help retrieve the kangaroo. The zoo tells us those efforts will likely continue tomorrow morning. Reporting live in Oshawa, Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Provincial police believe they now know who was behind a wave of bomb threats at schools across Ontario last month. On November 1st, several schools in the GTA and Eastern Ontario were forced to evacuate after receiving threatening messages demanding payment. No explosives were found. But after similar threats to schools in Belgium this week, police arrested a suspect in Morocco. OPPs say that same person was likely responsible for the incidents here. They say it's not clear if they'll ever face charges in Canada, but the investigation continues.
We turn to the seemingly never-ending wait to finally get the Eglinton Crosstown LRT on track.
It is years behind schedule, and there is still no new opening date in sight. CTV's Janice Golding joins us live from Eglinton and Dufferin, where, along with construction, there is no end, Janice, to the frustration from people there.
Hi, Michelle, you're right. I've been speaking to countless people today, and I can tell you that their overwhelming sentiments are both frustration and disbelief. They just cannot understand why the Eglinton Crosstown LRT isn't up and running yet. Just across the street from the Fairbank LRT station at Dufferin and Eglinton, people are still boarding buses.
You know, if you miss the bus, you have to wait like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. In
the rain and snow.
In the rain and snow.
And there's still no word when the Eglinton Crosstown LRT will be open, much to the frustration of commuters and local business people.
You know, I'm wet, like my feet are soaking. It would be nice if they just like had a trade underground, you know?
I'm disappointed with the government. It's been years and years and years.
But when this is built, I know it's going to be popping, but they need to speed up the process. Take forever. They keep stretching it.
Construction began on the 19-kilometer 25-station transit project in the summer of 2011 and was originally slated to open in 2020. When Metrolinx missed that target date, officials indicated it would be substantially complete in 2022. And then the consortium building the line missed that deadline as well.
I don't know what to say anymore. It's leaving me speechless. That 2020, 21, 23, 24, and yet we still don't know.
Metrolinx says it will announce an opening date for the LRT 3 months before opening day. But its CEO notes they are still finding issues that need to be fixed before the line can open.
What the issue is that we're dealing with is the unpredictable findings we have during the testing phase and the unpredictable time impact that has on the potential opening day.
With the project both over budget and over deadline, people are getting fed up.
Very confused. How do you not know when you're going to finish a project that you've been having for what, 5+ years now?
More than 10.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, right? So like, it's pretty ridiculous. Like, you know what I mean? It affects us business owners, people who live in the neighborhood.
Feeling like their hard-earned tax dollars are being drained off with nothing to show for it. While we don't know how many issues are still outstanding, back in the spring, Forrester did say that at the time there were about 260 quality control issues that they needed to deal with. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
All right, thank you, Janice. There'll soon be a new face at Toronto City Hall as voters in Ward 20, Scarborough Southwest, chose their next city councillor in a by-election. Unofficial results last night showed former TDSB trustee Parthy Candival as the winner with more than 4,600 votes. Community advocate Kevin Rupasinghe was about 800 votes behind in second place. Candeville will fill the seat left vacant after Councillor Gary Crawford resigned to run in the provincial by-election in Scarborough-Guildwood.
And speaking of provincial by-elections, voters in Kitchener Centre threw their support behind Green Party candidate Ashlyn Clancy last night. She's the party's deputy leader and second ever MPP to be elected to Queen's Park after leader Mike Schreiner. Clancy took just shy of 48% of the vote, taking the seat from the NDP, who placed second.
And there's another very big political position up for grabs in Ontario.
The Liberal Party is still without a permanent leader, but not for long. By this time tomorrow night, we should know who will be taking the top job. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has the details.
After 2 crushing elections, a loss of party status, the Liberals are hoping to write a new chapter with their second leadership contest in 3 years.
It has reinvigorated debate within the party, and it has elevated the voice of those grassroots members. That's what One Member, One Vote was designed to do.
This will be the first Ontario Liberal leader picked using that system, with 4 candidates on the ballot. MP and former Ontario Attorney General Yasser Naqvi.
I'm a most experienced leader, and I've had the opportunity to serve in cabinet.
MP Nate Erskine-Smith.
I want competence, I want compassion, and I want integrity on the big picture challenges.
The only candidate with the provincial seat, MPP Ted Hsu.
I want to solve the really hard problems of cost of living and housing, our healthcare system in quotes.
And the perceived frontrunner, Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie.
I'm the one who's managed the $4 billion budget at the city of Mississauga, learned how to make priorities.
Crombie has been known to be able to get under the Premier's skin. He swears he's not nervous about facing her to keep his job.
No, that's kind of, was that a joke or no? I say bring it on.
But Conservatives say behind closed doors, they do see a challenge in a Crombie-led Liberal Party.
She has the highest name recognition, she has actual governing experience, and she's looking to actually bring the Liberal Party back to the centre.
In an attempt to keep Crombie from victory, 2 candidates have teamed up.
I'm encouraging my supporters to vote for Yasser second.
Trying to make the math work in their favor on top of making connections.
Every riding counts for the same value, 100 points. And so you have to work in each riding. And, you know, as we've seen in leadership races, nothing's a done deal.
Liberals signed up 100,000 people to vote in this leadership election, the most in the party's history. What we don't know yet is how many people actually cast ballots, and what Liberals hope is the start of a comeback story. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
And we will have extensive coverage of tomorrow's Liberal Leadership Convention on our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and on CP24 and CTV News at 6. To the Middle East now, where a fragile 7-day truce between Israel and Hamas in Gaza has come to an end.
As CTV's Judy Trin reports, both sides say the other is responsible for the return to violence.
Israeli airstrikes once again shattering the silence in southern Gaza, where hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have fled for safety. They annihilated us. They annihilated Gaza. Nothing is left, said Mohammed Abu Mustafa. This is what happens to all Arabs. They die. Verified video shows Hamas also fired rockets at a kibbutz near the border. Israel blames Hamas for violating the terms of the ceasefire, which held for barely a week, claims the U.S. supports.
It came to an end because of Hamas. Hamas reneged on commitments it made. In fact, even before the pause came to an end, it committed an atrocious terrorist attack in Jerusalem.
Israel accuses Hamas of failing to release more hostages, including soldiers it had captured. During the truce, about 110 Israeli captives were freed, among them the family of Tal Shasham, while his wife and children are safe. His whereabouts still unknown.
We missed him, and we want him, and he must come back home immediately, because we don't even know what is the medical situation with him. We don't know if he's alive.
Israeli forces believe the remaining hostages are in southern Gaza. It's dropping leaflets to warn Palestinians to leave the area before it bombs. But the question is, where?
During the ceasefire, Israel cleared 350 Palestinians for release from its jails. Nearly 80% of them were minors. Meanwhile, the Hamas Health Authority estimates that more than 15,000 people have died in Gaza since Israel began its bombardments. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Closer to home, the Canadian economy added more jobs than forecasted last month, but unemployment still went up. Stats Canada says 25,000 jobs were added across the country in November, but population growth meant the unemployment rate ticked up to 5.8% from 5.7% in October. The Bank of Canada has hiked interest rates to try to slow down the economy and inflation. These job numbers and yesterday's weak GDP report offer some insight into how those efforts are going ahead of the bank's next rate decision next Wednesday.
The world's future use of fossil fuels has emerged as a key point of disagreement at the UN's climate summit in Dubai.
But with COP28 still in its early days, delegates are celebrating steps towards a new fund to help developing countries deal with the harsh impacts of climate change.
This is something Canada fought hard to establish last year at COP27. So I'm happy to announce that Canada is providing $16 million in seed money to the startup costs of this fund for loss and damage. And I want to congratulate the COP28 presidency for their leadership in securing the adoption of the fund on the first day of COP28 and for making a contribution right away.
The COP28 president is also the leader of a state-run oil company in the United Arab Emirates. That's prompted some questions over what impact COP28 will have on the wider global fight to tackle carbon emissions. King Charles summed up some of those concerns in an address today.
Some important progress has been made, but it worries me greatly that we remain so dreadfully far off track.
The king said scientists have been warning about the state of the climate for a long time, and alarming tipping points have already been reached. While the COP28 leadership has said the world needs to embrace continued use of fossil fuels, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that was no way to save a burning planet.
A U.S. appeals court says lawsuits against former President Donald Trump over his actions on January 6 of 2021 will be allowed to proceed.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness.
Trump argued his words to supporters right before many stormed the U.S. Capitol were protected by presidential immunity. Today's ruling knocked down that claim, but said the Republican frontrunner can try to make his case to higher courts as lawsuits from lawmakers and police officers move ahead.
The chair announces to the House that in light of the expulsion of the gentleman from New York, Mr. Santos, the whole number of the House is now 434.
And for just the sixth time ever in American history, U.S. House members voted today to expel now former Republican Congressman George Santos. The New York lawmaker faces federal charges of laundering campaign funds and defrauding donors. An ethics committee probe also found he charged thousands in cosmetic treatments to his campaign account. Santos denied wrongdoing and left before his expulsion was announced.
Also south of the border, retired U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor passed away today. O'Connor was the first woman to serve on the country's highest court after her nomination in 1981 by President Ronald Reagan. O'Connor was seen as a voice of moderate conservatism, and Chief Justice John Roberts saluted her undaunted determination, indisputable ability, and engaging candor. O'Connor died of complications related to dementia and a respiratory illness. She was 93.
It's never good to get into a collision, but a motorist in Spain has a story to tell after their car was hit by a crashing helicopter. Two people in the chopper and the driver of the car that was struck suffered minor injuries. The helicopter was taking part in an aviation fair, and it's believed strong winds played a role in the crash.
Back here at home, you could say there's a darkness hanging over people living in a Yonge and Lawrence neighborhood.
A construction project's in the works, but residents say what's there now is painting a proper picture of what the area has to offer. CTV's Allison Hurst explains.
Empty storefronts line a block of Yonge Street near Lawrence, covered in black paint.
Well, it sort of degrades the area. I mean, you know, it was when we moved in here, it was 1986. There's every kind of business in the world.
Michael Snyder used to own this music store. It's now run by his son, but the family business is right across the street from the empty block.
I'm worried about when the construction comes and the fact that nobody knows when it's coming.
The block is owned by a developer, and according to a city spokesperson, while the demolition permits were applied for in March of this year, the permits could not be issued as they do not have compliance with applicable law. They went on to say residential properties cannot be demolished without issuance of a replacement building permit, and that there is no replacement building permit applied for at this time.
It's disappointing that it looks like this, but my understanding is it's not the developer's fault at this point. They were on target to start demolition sometime in the summer. But they still have a couple people living there, and I think they're going through the eviction process with it.
CTV News reached out to the developers but did not hear back before deadline. Ted Butler with the Bedford Park Residents Organization says the plan is to build residential condos and some mixed-use retail on street level.
We started off a little rough with the developer, but I got to say they did come to the table, and they played fairly with the neighborhood and respected the process and, respect where they're building and what the people expect in this neighborhood.
Members of the local business association wish communication was better and say they raised the paint color issue at a meeting in October.
I said to him, can you not please change that color? And he sort of, well, what do you want? And I said, well, gray, anything's better than the black, And he said, well, we'll see. And he was supposed to get back to me on it. Did not.
As for when the community might see construction and then businesses return to this spot, it seems everyone is stuck in the dark for now. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
Coming up, Toronto makes a commitment to end the HIV epidemic locally. The city's promise amid an increase in reported infections on this World AIDS Day.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, it used to be fairly easy to import cars into the U.S. or buy a car there to bring into Canada. But a couple moving to Florida is shocked to find out they're not allowed to take their Canadian car with them. I'll tell you why. That story is just ahead.
Well, the toys are starting to pile up here at Swiss Chalet in the Burloak area. We have Lynette and Matt who have welcomed us to Oakville. And I'm joined now by Franco Tascioni from Swiss Chalet. You're the Chief Operating Officer. First time being a major sponsor with us here at Toy Mountain. What does it mean for you to be a part of this campaign?
Well, it's important to us. It's been almost 70 years that we have brought Canadian families together at mealtime. And we are fortunate that they've also included us as part of their holiday traditions. We know that during the holiday season, it's all about celebrating, but it's also a time where we give back, and we want to give back to the community as well as families. So we're excited that we're together and working with this partnership this year.
We are going to celebrate what it is that you're doing for Toy Mountain, and do want to mention that you can drop off new unwrapped toys at various Swiss Chalet locations around the GTA. You can find that information at swisschalet.ca. And stay with us. We have a full look at your weekend forecast coming up right after this.
Some snowbirds like to leave their car in the U.S., or if you're moving to the States, you may want to take your vehicle with you.
It used to be a fairly easy process, but now many car companies won't provide the paperwork necessary to make that happen. Here's Pat Foran and a Consumer Alert tonight. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Nathan. An American woman married a Canadian, and this year they bought a new car. They recently decided to move to Florida and were shocked to find out their vehicle will not be allowed to go with them to the U.S. American Natalia Whiteley fell in love with a Canadian while they were going to school in Montreal, and they eventually got married. After spending 5 years together in Canada, they made the decision to move to her home state of Florida.
We had to move to Pensacola for some family and job situation.
They also want to bring with them their 2023 Prius Prime, which they got in May after being on a waiting list for a year and a half.
Oh, I love the car. It's amazing.
To import a car into the U.S. from Canada, you need a letter of compliance. It shows a car has the necessary emissions, safety standards, and the proper odometer to be driven there. In the past, such letters were easy to get, but now Toyota Canada won't give Whiteley the paperwork she needs.
I thought it'd be a little bureaucratic, but yeah, I didn't think it would be impossible.
A spokesperson for the car company told CTV News Toyota Canada is unable to provide compliance letters. Toyota vehicles are certified as complying with all applicable Canadian safety and emission regulations.
It's a very popular vehicle, very much in demand.
Viraf Balawala is with the Automall Network, which specializes in importing and exporting cars. He says car companies are now concerned people are buying vehicles to flip for a profit, so they're no longer providing compliance letters, making it almost impossible for a car to leave the country.
We don't want a vehicle that is supposed to be destined for Canada, very much in demand, long waiting lists, etc., and somebody buys it, takes it over to the U.S. and flips it down there.
Whiteley told Toyota she doesn't want to sell the car but keep it long term. But with her Canadian insurance about to run out in the U.S., she feels she may have no choice but to drive it back to Canada to sell it.
We're going to have to take some time off work and try driving the car up to Canada and try selling it. It's going to cost us a lot of money that we don't exactly have, sitting around.
And some dealers are even putting clauses in contracts that say you're not allowed to sell a car for 1 year after you buy it. It's another way companies are trying to avoid people flipping cars to make a profit. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, here we go into the first weekend of December, and it's an indoor plan kind of weekend, weather-wise at least.
Yeah, because outside you're getting some snow, a little chilly out there, all while we try to build that toy mountain, Lindsay.
Yes, and we're going to build that toy mountain while being indoors, cozy, and enjoying a delicious meal. We are here at Swiss Chalet in Oakville at the Wycroft Road and Burloak area. Back with Franco here. You have a rather special donation that you're making tonight. Will you tell us a little bit about that?
We do, yes. On behalf of myself, all of our franchisees, our teammates in our restaurants, as well as our Swiss Chalet leaders, I want to first off say we are so happy to be presenting this donation to the CTV Toy Mountain and Salvation Army. As well, we have $10,000 in gift cards and toys that we hope will help bring some joy to this festive season to many well-deserved families.
Wow, absolutely amazing. And look at that. $20,000 from our friends at Swiss Chalet. That's beautiful. Thank you, Franco. Thank you, Albert, for having us here tonight. And the whole team is here, Salvation Army. We have Lynette and Matt. Thanks for welcoming us to Oakville. It's great to have you here with us again.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here tonight.
Yeah, we're excited to be a part of Toy Mountain. We'll be serving hundreds of kids and their families, and we need everybody's help to help make their Christmas a merry one.
Everyone's getting into the spirit of things. I think today's weather maybe helped with that too. Why don't we get to the forecast? We'll let you know that weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. Now today we did have some wet weather. We also had some snow in some parts of the greater Toronto area. It's starting to taper off, but we're not in the clear just yet. We're still going to be dealing with this through the overnight hours tonight. And right now it's pretty drizzly out there still, so you'll want to bring an umbrella with you if you are venturing out. Heading into tomorrow, it is going to be a bit of an unsettled start to your Saturday. There's midnight. You can see that mixing line moving a little bit further to the north as the temperature rises. Around midday tomorrow, still dealing with wet weather. The afternoon and evening should be drier in most areas. And then there's Sunday. We're getting back into another round of active weather, especially for the evening hours. Might see predominantly rain, but some areas could get some freezing rain, maybe some snow as well. Hey, why don't we throw some fog into the mix? That could be happening especially tomorrow morning as well, so just be mindful of that. Temperature is going to rise as the day goes on, eventually to a high of around 5 degrees, so that's seasonal. Here's a look at your weekend forecast. Periods of rain at times this weekend, generally unsettled, and while I mentioned this is seasonal, we are going to be a little below seasonal as we make our way into the early part of next week. We might not see the sun again until about Wednesday. Mix of sun and cloud in the forecast. If you're just joining us, we are here live at Swiss Chalet. We just received an absolutely amazing donation from our friends at Swiss Chalet. Aaron, what do you think about this?
We are so grateful for the partnership with Swiss Chalet. Since day one, they have been so supportive, and this is just unbelievably amazing. It's going to support so many families who are struggling this Christmas season with, toy donations and with food donations as well, as food insecurity is on the rise. So thank you so much. We can't thank you enough.
It's a great point, Erin. And I think I smell a couple of festive specials here in the building. We're going to check and see if some of those are ready coming up. For now, though, Nathan and Michelle, I'll send it back inside to you.
Great work. Thanks so much, Lindsay. Also tonight, scientists focus on the subtle differences between men's and women's brains and research new ways to try and prevent Alzheimer's. Raising awareness on Women's Brain Health Day coming up. Tomorrow is Women's Brain Health Day, a day to draw attention to the differences in men's and women's brains.
And as CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, the hope is to build that awareness into future research and treatments.
I remember talking to her about what I was going into my major at university, and I told her 4 or 5 times, and each time she wouldn't remember.
Alex and Catherine Widmeyer's grandmother Elaine passed away in November 2022 of Alzheimer's. And knowing that there's a genetic component to the disease, their mom Sarah started talking to them about the importance of sleep, diet, exercise. They even got their own Pilates machine that somehow got put in their living room because of its size. And this year, Women's Brain Health Day has special meaning for them.
It has particular significance because it's almost exactly a year past my mom's passing. And with Alzheimer's, you grieve the person as they decline.
It's been decades since scientists recognized the difference between men's and women's heart health, but only a decade since they realized there are also brain differences, for example, in the processing of pain.
It's not just because, we have different organs or a different hormonal system. Anxiety, mood disorders, and so depression, stroke as we age, Alzheimer, they affect women more than men.
In fact, 70% of Alzheimer's patients are women. That's why the raising of awareness and research funds is so important on Women's Brain Health Day.
And the good news is because of support from Brain Canada, the Citrine Foundation of Canada, funds that we do raise on Women's Brain Health Day will be matched, so people can double their impact.
My message is there's still so much we don't know that we know we need to know more, and that's the critical aspect.
Alzheimer's may or may not be in the future for the Widmeyer women.
I wouldn't say that I'm terrified of the possibility of it happening. I'm more so doing what I can to avoid that possibility of it happening.
And they're hopeful that more answers are just around the corner. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Today is World AIDS Day, and today, Mayor Olivia Chow said Toronto will join a global effort to fast-track local responses to HIV and AIDS.
It's a promise that our residents, to our neighbors, and the future generations, a promise to prioritize access to testing, prevention, treatment, and care for everyone.
Established in 1988, World AIDS Day promotes solidarity against the stigma surrounding the disease and honors the lives lost. An estimated 38 million people live with the virus around the world, and more than 35 million people have died of HIV or AIDS-related illnesses over the past 40 years. The first trailer is out for a new movie set in the post-apocalyptic Mad Max universe.
I'm Furiosa! The darkest of angels.
Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, stars Anya Taylor-Joy in the title role. Previously played by Charlize Theron in 2015's Mad Max Fury Road, the prequel film is described as a standalone action adventure, revealing the origins of the character. The movie also stars Chris Hemsworth, and it'll be out in May.
After Taylor Swift's Eras Tour concert film took movie theaters by storm, now it's Beyoncé's turn.
I have nothing to prove to anyone at this point. We are
A Renaissance, a film by Beyoncé, is off to a strong start at the box office. Deadline reports it's on track for a $20 to $25 million U.S. opening weekend across North America. The Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, is expected to fall to second place.
The Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boys Court-Approved Liquidation Sale.
After the break, new month, the countdown is on. If you have presents and packages you want to send, there are some key dates to be aware of to ensure they arrive in time for the holidays. Stay with us.
And I want to reassure the community that, we're going to be doing everything we can to identify, locate, and arrest the suspect.
Updating our top stories, Peel police are investigating a disturbing incident at the Brampton City Center Mall in October. They say a woman was punched several times by a man she did not know, who accused her of recording him on her phone. She suffered minor injuries.
It can get painful, but yeah, you have to pay your parking. I guess that's the law, right?
Heads up, new increased fines are now in place for vehicles parked illegally on private property across the city of Toronto. The amount drivers have to pay has more than doubled, from $30 to $75. The rules also apply to all city-owned parking property, but not street parking.
Realized it was the Kangaroo when it began to hop across the field.
It's not a sight you'd expect to see in Canada, but drivers spotted a kangaroo hopping alongside the road in Oshawa today. The Oshawa Zoo says the animal was destined for a Quebec zoo, but escaped its handlers. Volunteers are scouring the area to try to bring the kangaroo back safely.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you ever have a news tip, photos, maybe you spotted the kangaroo, text us and let us know. Send us your info. On the markets, the Canadian dollar was at 74.1 cents U.S. That was up a fraction. North American benchmark oil changed hands at $74.07. And the TSX Composite finished the session at 20,452.87, up just over 216 points.
Believe it or not, it's already December 1st, and Canada Post is urging anyone with holiday gifts to ship to keep some key deadlines in mind. If you're hoping the package will be received by Christmas, Canada Post says you should ship by the 19th for local recipients, the 14th to 19th for regional ones, and by as early as the 8th if you're shipping across the country. Other deadlines apply if you're paying for faster shipment or sending a holiday card. In sports, the Raptors host the New York Knicks tonight, and a win will put them back at the 500 mark. Toronto beat Phoenix 112-105 on Wednesday, snapping a two-game losing skid. New York, meanwhile, has won 5 of its last 7 games. Tip-off tonight is at 7:30.
And the most prolific player in Canadian soccer history kicks off the final leg of her farewell tour tonight. Christine Sinclair will play in a couple of exhibition matches over the next few days, not far from her hometown of Burnaby, BC. The longtime captain of Team Canada is in the lineup for tonight's game against Australia in Langford, BC. She finishes Tuesday night against the Aussies at BC Place in Vancouver. The venue has been temporarily renamed Christine Sinclair Place in her honor.
Just ahead, all aboard the Roller Express at Union Station. We check out the free indoor roller rink and punch a ticket to ride inside the train tunnel. The new Great Skate Place coming up.
Tonight, accused of housing secret Chinese police stations.
I had to hide in my house for over 3 months.
Quebec community centers threaten to sue the RCMP. Later on CTV National News.
Hey Toronto, I'm Nicole Cervinas.
And I'm Teddy Wilson, and welcome to Things to Know TO.
Each week, we shine a spotlight on a wide variety of local businesses, services, events, and initiatives from across the GTA.
And if you or your company would like to be featured, you can contact our team by email at thingstoKnowTO@bellmedia.ca.
And don't forget, join us on Saturday mornings on CP24, CTV, and CTV2.
And hey, why not follow us on social at Things to Know TO.
Usually when people go through Union Station, it's not necessarily because they want to, but because they have to.
But aside from restaurants and other businesses, there's a new attraction to check out that organizers hope will be a major draw during the colder months. Union Winter is back, and this year it features Roller Express, an indoor roller skating rink. It also features a skating trail that winds into the carriageway tunnel. The rink also offers free skate and safety gear rentals, special skate nights, and lessons to help you get a little more comfortable while rolling around.
We really have decked out the space in some fun retro decor. We have lighting, we have DJs, so people can really expect to have a fun time, enjoy something free to do with their friends, somewhere where they can get a bit of activity, stay warm during the winter.
The Roller Express will be accessible at Union Station through February 1st, and you can skate faster if you sign a digital waiver online in advance. That looks like fun.
There's so much to do in our city. Maybe on your to-do list, you can add picking up a toy for our Toy Mountain campaign. Lindsay.
Nathan and Michelle, it's been a great night. And for anybody who's doing some shopping this weekend and wants to help us build a toy mountain, Erin, there's a couple of age groups that we're looking for some toys for.
Yes, 1 to 2 years of age, the 10 to 13 years of age, those tweens. We are seeing less and less toys for those age groups. A monetary donation goes a long way as well to help make sure that those age groups are covered.
And gift cards. Tweens love gift cards. Absolutely. Here's how you can help. You can drop off a new unwrapped toy at any of our participating locations. That's the easiest way to contribute. Let's take one more look at your 7-day forecast. The weekend is going to be a little bit unsettled. So yeah, it's a good one for some indoor activities or perhaps dining indoors. We want to say a big thank you to Swiss Chalet for hosting us tonight. Swiss Chalet Burloak. How good does this team look? And how good does that food look? Nathan and Michelle, I'll send it back to you. It's been so much fun building a toy mountain. Good night.
Night.
Looks
the food
delicious.
sweater's fabulous. That's it for us, but join Heather Butts at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Alman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.